Imagine surviving 100 days as the god of thunder, Zeus. You'll recover your godly powers and rebuild your influence across Greece. Can I win the battle of the gods for the throne of Olympus? Stay tuned to find out. On day 1, I was dropped into the land of ancient Greece. Before I could explore, I was confronted by the ancient god of time, Kronos.
Zeus, my son, thinking you can sit on my throne? But look at you now, so small and frail.
Kronos, what did you do to me?
What I should have done all along. I am the god of time, Zeus. I just rewound you a little. I could kill you so easily now, but I want you to watch your people suffer. Watch as I tear down everything you've built.
Not if I don't let you.
Come try and stop me.
Kronos then casted a spell which set the entire forest on fire. Leaving me to burn, Kronos disappeared in a flash of particles. I needed to escape the burning forest, and while running out, I realized I could fly. My flying speed wasn't very fast, so I was gonna have to work on getting my powers back. And while flying out of the burning forest, I was attacked by a griffin. It knocked me out of the air, but lucky for me, I didn't take any fall damage since I was a god. But I knew I couldn't fly away from the griffin, so I ran into the trees to hide from it. With the cover of the trees, I gathered some wood and some stone to make stone tools. I then took out some cows for food, cooked up some steak in the furnace. Full of energy, I went up to a zombie to test my powers, and every time I hit an enemy, it would get struck by lightning. So throughout the night, I continued testing my powers on zombies, and on day 2, I began collecting some wood to create myself a base. After I collected a bunch of wood, I began creating my first little base. I decided on hiding it in a different part of the forest, just in case that griffin was still looking for me. After adding a roof on top and a staircase up, the build was complete. And also, our new goal is to reach 2 million subscribers, so if you enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe to be a part of my adventures. However, it wasn't long until the griffin was circling overhead. How did it find me so fast? I went outside to take a look, and the griffin came swooping down, so I ran back into my house. After waiting for about half a day, I made a run for it out of the forest. I ended up finding some cows and pigs for food, and eventually stumbled upon a cave. I slowly descended into it using my flight ability, and found myself some iron, smelted it up, and crafted myself full iron armor, iron tools, and found myself some gold. On the way back home, I got some string from some spiders, went inside and crafted myself a bow, which came with Thunder Shot 1. I also crafted myself some arrows, went outside to make sure the coast was clear, and decided to go hunting for the griffin. Speaking of monsters, I'd like to thank today's sponsor, Monster Legends. Monster Legends is a free-to-play game available on all devices. You can collect over 1,000 different monsters and build a monster empire. There's new monster releases every week, and to acquire new monsters, you can breed them to create brand new species. You'll hatch your new baby monsters, feed them to evolve, and level them up to boost their powers. After crafting your team of monsters, you can challenge other monster masters to win trophies and rewards. Monster Legends has even teamed up with The Walking Dead to celebrate their show's return. They created 6 brand new monsters with amazing abilities inspired by the show's characters. These monsters are only around for a limited time, so don't miss out on expanding your team of monsters. To start collecting The Walking Dead monsters, download the game now using my link in the description or the QR code on screen. And for a limited time only, you can get a free starter pack of 100,000 gold, 20,000 food, 3 gems, and the epic monster Mothman. Now let's bolt right back to ancient Greece. I traveled past the burning forest and saw the griffin in the distance. Hey, get back here! I began chasing the griffin using my flight, but the griffin kept on flying away. I tried shooting a bow shot at it, but I missed and it kept on flying up a mountain. I decided to keep on chasing up the mountain, and it wasn't long until I ran into harpies. They charged at me and I was forced to fight them. Using my axe and striking them with lightning, I managed to take them both out. So I continued up the mountain, but was forced to fight even more harpies. I backed away and blocked their attacks with my shield, and managed to take the rest out. After traveling up the mountain for a little longer, I found an egg in a strange nest. I picked up the egg to see if it was the griffin's egg, but all it said was mysterious egg. I wasn't sure whether it was the griffin's or not, so I scaled back down the mountain, and all of a sudden got blindsided by the griffin. The griffin charged at me and did a bunch of damage, so I used my bow on the griffin and got knocked into the air again. I landed another hit with my axe as the griffin charged past me and landed the final shot. After defeating the griffin, I decided it'd be a good idea to head home, but I ran into some bulls on the way back. They attacked me, but I managed to take them all out and got some leather and steak. And after traveling back for a bit longer, it seemed I had made a wrong turn and was now approaching a massive village. I quickly climbed up the hill to go investigate and went up the stairs and got greeted by a villager.
Hey, are you okay, young man?
I'm fine, just a little bit tired.
No, you're hurt. Come with me. Let's get you some food and a bed to rest in.
Considering I was pretty low on food and it was turning night, I decided to follow the villager into the house. Still, the villager then dropped me a mushroom stew, placed down a bed, and I went to sleep for the night. I woke up the next day to some commotion outside. I stepped out to investigate, and it was the sound of two villagers having a conversation.
Definitely glad that Kronos is here. Our crops are thriving thanks to him.
Kronos, that guy's awful. You should be worshiping a better god, like Zeus.
Zeus? Are you a fanboy of his or something?
Fanboy? Who do you think you're talking to? I'm the god of lightning. After attacking the villager, I tried running out of the village and was confronted by two guards. I knew I wasn't gonna escape this easily, so I attacked one of the guards and started to run. I ran up and parkoured up to one of the building's roofs, kept on running, and then used my flight ability to escape. The village guards weren't gonna let me go so easily and started using their bows to shoot at me. I dodged and weaved the incoming arrows and then dropped down into the trees to escape. I am a god. Who do they think they are? You know what? I'm gonna go back there and make them pledge their loyalty. Considering I was wanted and the villager guards were looking for me, I flew in from behind the village and snuck in. And it seemed this village had some sort of temple. I stepped into the temple to find a bunch of Kronos cultists. Listen up, Kronos followers. I am Zeus, god of lightning, and I demand you tear down this temple and begin worshiping me instead of Kronos. The Kronos cultists began to attack me using spells that came out of the ground. They did a bunch of damage, so I decided to retreat and think of a new plan of action. I flew away, disappeared into the forest, and began hatching my plan. I waited for nightfall and started killing a bunch of creepers for gunpowder. I also gathered some gravel for flint, returned back to base and crafted some more arrows, and went to a nearby riverbank to collect some sand. With the sand and gunpowder, I crafted myself some TNT, and with the preparations in place, I made my way back to the village. I snuck around to the back of the village once again and stealthily flew up onto the roof. I began placing down the TNT all over the rooftop and struck a villager with lightning to get the cultists' attention. And the Kronos cultists came running out.
Take a hint, Zeus. No one wants you here.
Is that right? You sure you don't want to tear down that temple to Kronos and worship me instead?
We're sure. Now go away.
All right, suit yourselves. With the Kronos cultists not willing to comply, I shot the TNT with my lightning arrow, which didn't take long to ignite and decimate the entire Kronos temple.
You think blowing up our town will make us do what you want?
As Zeus, I took that as a challenge. If they weren't gonna submit to me now, I was gonna have to show them the might of Zeus. It didn't take too long for my destruction to get their attention again.
Stop. If you promise to stop, we'll worship you.
Good. Now repair my temple. The Kronos cultists seemed hesitant, but they went up the stairs towards the Grief Temple and started building a new one. I made sure to keep a close eye on them to make sure they didn't turn it into a Kronos temple, but they did make sure to add a Zeus statue on top, and the Zeus shrine was complete. I also had an idea for the cultists. Now you need to change those outfits into some Zeus outfits. Bert and Bill nervously agreed and went behind the temple, and after a strike of lightning, they came back from behind the temple with Zeus outfits.
So, Sir Zeus, we built that temple like you asked, but there's another village a couple days away from here that's run by Kronos. Maybe you should go talk to them?
Good idea. More grateful worshippers just waiting for me. So with the idea for my new followers to go conquer some more villages, I began traveling to see if I could find another village. After a bit of exploring, I saw a village in the distance, and I made sure to not fly in so I wouldn't draw any attention from the villagers. Little did I know, there was a familiar face waiting for me.
My son, I knew you'd be here. What you did to my worshippers was rude, wouldn't you say?
I only treated them as a god should. They were insolent mortals.
It's a shame you betrayed me. These mere mortals didn't have any time to prepare for you. Luckily, Father Time is on their side. How does 3 years of hard training sound? Now, deal with him.
3 years? More like 10 years? Kronos then disappeared and the buff villagers began to rush at me. I tried using my axe and my shield to block their attacks. All of a sudden, I was knocked away, and one of the villagers came jumping in and Hulk smashed me for 8.5 hearts of damage. I knew I needed to make a run for it as the buff villagers are too strong for me to deal with, but while traveling along the coast, Poseidon came swan diving in from the ocean.
Hello, little brother.
Poseidon, don't test me. I may have lost some of my power, but I'm still a match for you.
Calm down. I've come to help, as long as you help me first.
And you'll help me reclaim my power.
I will. Kronos' followers have been destroying my temples, limiting my own influence across Greece. Once you've built me a new temple along the beach, we'll talk more.
Build you a temple? Do you take me for a mortal?
With your power lost, you might as well be one. Now go!
Poseidon then swan dived back into the ocean, and I basically had no choice but to go out and get materials for a Poseidon shrine, as he would be my best bet at getting my powers back. So I jumped into the ocean and found some prismarine crystals I could mine. So for the next few days, I collected myself a bunch of ocean materials for the shrine build, and after I finished collecting all the materials I needed, I began working on Poseidon's shrine right next to the beach. I used sand and sandstone for the base of the shrine, and for the roof, I used the prismarine, wool, and blue concrete that I got from the crystals. It wasn't too big, but I wasn't gonna go all out for Poseidon. And on cue, Poseidon swan dived out of the ocean. Poseidon, I built a temple for you. Now help me get my power back.
What's the rush, Zeus? It's not like time is on your side either way.
Stop joking around and help me.
If that's the way you're going to be, you can do another task for me. How about you battle one of the creatures of the sea? Maybe the thrill of combat will bring you back to your senses.
Fine, I'll do it. You better keep your word, though. Poseidon then jumped back into the ocean, and with a brand new task, I crafted myself a boat and began making my way into the middle of the ocean. After traveling out into rougher waters, it wasn't long until I stumbled upon a massive beast. I swam down under to try and get a hit with my axe, but instead I got chopped in the face. It did a lot of damage, so I opted to use my bow and use my flying abilities instead. It was working perfectly, and the mutant whale couldn't reach me in the sky. After shooting it with a bow for a while, the whale had finally been defeated. It had even dropped mutant whale scales. I swam back to my boat and started making my way back to the shore with my mission complete. Poseidon, I slayed the largest creature I could find. Now, help me get my power back.
What do you think I've been having you do, you fool? That puny body Kronos gave you can't handle your power yet. That battle was just a warm-up.
So now that I've killed that whale, I'm ready, right?
Go craft a boat, sail into the middle of the ocean and wait for me. I'll meet you there.
This better be the last thing, Poseidon. Poseidon then left once again, and I had a feeling I needed to prepare. So I checked to see if I could craft anything with the mutant whale scales, and I was able to nearly craft a full set of mutant scale armor. I then returned to base to go to sleep, went out to find a cave, mined myself a bunch of gold, some diamonds, and obsidian. I then returned back to base, crafted myself an enchantment table, enchanted all the mutant whale scale armor with protection 1, and crafted as many golden apples as I could. With a new set of armor and plenty of food and golden apples, I was ready to set sail. Before I knew it, I was already in the rough waters once again, but I wasn't sure what to look for. All of a sudden, as I was boating, a chasm opened up beneath me. I couldn't stop the momentum of my boat, fell in, and plummeted into a giant arena. What in the world do you have planned, Poseidon?
I've brought you into one of my favorite places, brother, so I can beat some sense into you.
Wait a second, aren't we taking things a little too fast? Before I knew it, the battle had begun between me and Poseidon. He thrust his trident at me, doing damage, and I was trying to keep my distance with my bow. I was then forced to use my first golden apple. I tried closing the distance and doing some damage with my axe, but was knocked away by a giant tidal wave. It did a ton of damage, and I was forced to eat another golden apple, and he knocked me away again, making me take fall damage. I barely survived that. I had Poseidon really low, went back in, and landed the final hit. Was that really necessary, Poseidon?
There we go. I'd say you're ready for a power-up. I'll give you the energy I can muster, but the rest is up to you, Zeus.
Poseidon then struck me with lightning, and I felt a wave of energy surge through me. I had now reclaimed the Bolt of Zeus, which was now my new weapon. Now, let's go take down Kronos, Poseidon.
Zeus, I can't do that. There are some terrible things in the seas that I can't risk leaving unattended. You'll have to deal with Kronos on your own.
Fine, I'll handle it on my own. Next time you see me, I'll be sitting on my rightful throne on Olympus.
Farewell, brother.
With this newfound power, I also realized I could fly slightly faster and began making my way out of Poseidon's arena. I finally reached the top, went through the portal, and the ocean split again, allowing me to fly out back to the surface. With this higher fly speed, I decided it'd be a better idea to fly home instead of use a boat, and eventually made it back to shore. With it turning nighttime, I decided to test out my new weapon and was able to strike lightning, throw my lightning bolt like a trident, and stun my enemies. I decided it'd be a good idea to start heading back to base, but while on my way back, I realized the mysterious egg in my inventory was suddenly cracked. So I took the egg over to the river to investigate, and it was shaking like it was about to hatch. Is this thing gonna hatch? Wait, what What the heck? My egg is drifting away. The random goat knocking my egg into the water? The egg was traveling really fast in the river's current, and I started flying after it to try and catch it. The egg was moving so fast that before I even knew it, I'd completely lost sight of it. So I continued traveling down the river to try and find the egg, but instead of finding the egg, I eventually found a village. But when I approached, I realized the village was on fire. What in the world happened here? I flew down to the village to investigate and saw a villager in the distance. Hello? What happened in this village?
Are you a god? Please, you've got to help us. Some terrible beast just came through here and
Of course I'm a god. I'll deal with this beast for you, mortal. Just be ready to show your devotion once I've returned to your village. The villager then returned to repairing his home, and I decided it'd be a good idea to go and search for this beast. So I headed towards the mountain range to see if I could find him. I traveled for a little while without any clues, but while approaching some snowy mountains, I saw some lightning in the distance. I quickly started flying over to go investigate what the source of the lightning was. What in the world is that thing? Is that what hatched from the egg? Hey, get back here! The strange creature flew up and climbed into a small hole. I flew up to see where it went and started digging through the snow to see what was on the other side. Strangely enough, there was a cave, so I jumped down to see if I could find the creature. That thing almost looks like a dragon. While on the way down, I figured I'd mine myself some gold, emeralds, and diamonds, crafted myself some more diamond tools and a diamond helmet, and ended up hearing some lightning in the distance while I was in the cave. I quickly dug towards the sound of the lightning and found myself in a larger cave structure. I managed to find some diamonds on the way down, but saw something moving around one of the corners. I went to approach and a massive basilisk was chasing the baby dragon. The baby dragon escaped through a small cave in the back, but the basilisk turned its attention on me. The basilisk charged forward and spat out a dangerous poison. I tried using my lightning bolt on it, but it was immune to lightning. I tried closing the distance, but took way too much damage and made a run for it to the back cave. The basilisk luckily couldn't fit through, and I began pillaring my way out of the cave. I found myself in another large part of the cave, but turned a corner directly into the basilisk. I quickly swam up a water stream to get away, and it finally managed to escape. I flew out of the rest of the cave and finally found myself at the surface. I wasn't sure if the baby dragon had escaped either, but I knew there was no chance I could face that thing with my current gear. So I made my way back to my base and dug out an area underneath my base to make myself an enchanting station. Once the enchantment station was complete, I enchanted my bow with power 3 on breaking 3, and at night I got enough levels to enchant my helmet with protection 3 and crafted myself 4 golden apples. With some stronger gear and golden apples, I made my way back to the mountain. However, instead of running into a basilisk, Kronos, the god of time, appeared once again.
My son, I see you've reclaimed some of your power.
Kronos, I will not tolerate your tyranny.
You will tolerate. I made a mistake letting you stay in my world, but I'll fix that now.
Wait a second, Kronos. Hey, I can't move! Kronos began fast-forwarding time, and before I knew it, the entire scenery around me had changed. Where am I? Am I still in ancient Greece? Before I had time to get adjusted to my surroundings, magma cubes began to swarm me. Using my lightning abilities, though, I was able to take them out pretty easily and started flying around to see where the heck I ended up. While exploring, I ended up fighting some wither skeletons as well, and found some striders, and even found some gas, and realized just about everything around me was in ruin. I continued flying around trying to look for answers as to where I ended up. After a while of traveling, I finally came across a structure. After getting closer, I realized it was some kind of temple, so I went to look for the entrance, which was blocked by concrete powder. I dug my way in, walked past the statues, turned a corner, and to my surprise, there was someone in the room. I walked up to him and realized it was Hades, the god of the underworld.
Do my eyes deceive me? Zeus?
Hades? Yes, it's me, your brother.
Zeus, you've been gone thousands of years. Where have you been?
Kronos apparently threw me into the future. What happened to Olympus?
After you went missing, Kronos killed many of the Olympians. Over time, the Titans broke this world down until there was nothing left. They even destroyed my home, Tartarus. Besides me, Kronos was the last standing. He left to find a new world in the cosmos, and he bound me to this spot to mock me.
I see. And why are there so many nether creatures in this wasteland?
Because what is a god of death without life? They may be empty husks, but they help mitigate my eternal loneliness here.
There's gotta be a way to send me back. I could stop Kronos. I could save our world.
There might be, but not without danger. The Titans and gods that fell left behind traces of their powers. Go east and find some. If fate is kind to us, maybe you'll find something that can send you back to fix this mess.
On it, I'll be back soon. So with directions from Hades to head east, I first went to sleep and started heading east. While traveling, I ran into some blazes and took them out for some blaze rods. Not only that, but I found some netherwort that was growing on the side of the mountain. So while fighting off a bunch of magma cubes, I mined myself as much netherwort as I could. After a while more of traveling east, I finally saw a temple in the distance. This one being a lot larger than the other one. I walked into the entrance and saw some skeletons inside. I began battling the skeletons and was able to easily defeat them using my lightning bolt. As I made my way to the back room, there was a giant skeleton wielding a giant axe. It was doing a ton of damage, so I was forced to back up and eat a golden apple. It hit me again for a lot of damage, so I stunned it with my lightning and eventually took it out. I then found some brewing stands and some blaze powder and magma cream, and in the chest on the pedestal, there was a strange item. It was a burnt out sun that originally belonged to Apollo, who was the god of the sun. On my way out, I defeated the rest of the skeletons guarding the temple and started heading further east for some more clues. After flying for a while longer, another massive temple came into my view. I approached the temple and there were two massive horse statues at the front. I made my way inside and was confronted by skeletal-looking dogs. They did a ton of damage and they withered me. So I quickly backed up to eat a golden apple and used my ranged thunderbolt attacks to take them out. There was tons of them guarding the entrance, but I managed to fight my way through until I found myself in the main room. This time I used my flying abilities to make sure they couldn't hit me and eventually defeated the rest. I then approached the altar at the back of the temple and found an item called a shattered moon. It was a relic that had previously belonged to Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. With 2 relics acquired, I thought it'd be a good idea to head back to Hades and see if this was enough to send me back in time. So I returned to Hades' temple, walked back up to Hades, and presented him both relics. However, there was one problem. Hades told me I would need to find one more relic to have any chance of returning back to the past. He told me to head west into the mountains this time as there might be a relic there. So with the directions of Hades, I decided to head west. However, it wasn't long until I experienced my first natural disaster. Fire began raining from the sky, pelting me and doing a ton of damage. I was forced to land quickly and dig myself into a hole to avoid the fire. I didn't think there would be this kind of weather over here. After waiting out the firestorm, I climbed out of my hole and started flying back west. After flying along the mountains, I saw a strange tower in the distance, but also saw a strange looking creature out front. I approached it and it immediately attacked me. I started using my lightning abilities to fight back and kept on dodging its attacks. However, it poisoned me and started doing some big damage. It even started summoning in Venus flytraps and little minions that started attacking me. After a few more hits though, I finally defeated Gaia's warden, cleared out the rest of the minions, took out some more at the front of the stairs, and started scaling up Gaia's tower. On the way up, I had to deal with more of the minions, but eventually I reached the top. In the middle of the room, there is a chest with a singular relic called Putrid Earth. It originally belonged to the Titan Gaia, who was the goddess of the earth. With the final relic acquired, I started heading back to Hades' temple, and eventually I had made it back. Brother, I'm back. I managed to find Gaia's relic. Is that all we're gonna need?
Glad you're back in one piece, Zeus. Now, you'll need to break me out of these chains, then meet me at the crater of Olympus.
Crater of Olympus?
Forgive me, brother. Let me fill you in. A few thousand years ago, the Titans ground Olympus down into dust under Kronos' orders.
Wow, it really came true? Hopefully this plan works so we can undo this mess. Now, let me break you out of those chains. I flew up to the relics that were binding Hades, broke them one by one, until eventually Hades was finally freed. He thanked me and told me to head south to find the crater, and disappeared in a flash of darkness. So I made my way out of the Hades temple and started flying south down into the center of the crater. While traveling on my way down, I ran into some gas, managed to take them all out, but as I got closer to the center of the crater, I realized there was ancient debris everywhere. So I took advantage of the situation and mined myself a ton of ancient debris. After getting as much as I could, I traveled for a little while longer and finally made it to the bottom of the crater. I flew down and landed at the center, and Hades had appeared. I have the 3 relics on me, Hades. Here, take them.
We can create everything. Our world and all other worlds in the palm of your hand. The heavens and the earth.
Whoa. What is that? I picked up the strange item, which was called Creation. However, when I tried using it, it didn't work. It's not working, Hades. Is something wrong?
With the remnants of Apollo, Artemis, and Gaia, we can create something truly wonderful. But it lacks life. If I can imbue it with an overflow of death, a world of pure death, time would be meaningless inside of it. If you slay me here, this timeless world would counteract Kronos' power.
I can't just gamble and kill you like that. What if it doesn't work?
Do not mourn for me, brother. If this works, I'll live on still. You don't have a choice.
Hades then sprung into action and began attacking me, and I had no choice but to fight back. Hades was doing a ton of damage, so I had to back up and use my bow and started pelting Hades with my arrows. I then ate my first golden apple and decided it'd be best to use my flying abilities to be able to take down Hades. So using my flight, I was able to dodge most of Hades' attacks, but was still getting hit by the occasional meteor. I was now out of golden apples and I had to be careful not to get hit by any big attacks. But all of a sudden, Hades cast down a meteor shower. Meteors came raining down from the sky, and I had to be careful and dodge the meteors as I was shooting Hades. I closed the distance a little bit to be able to use my lightning abilities, and after a few more shots of my bow, I had finally defeated Hades. Let's see if this creation tool works. All of a sudden, I was transported through time and appeared in a flash of lightning into the overworld, but I was now 3 times the size. I now had 30 hearts and was able to fly twice as fast. My lightning abilities were even enhanced and left behind static electricity, and I was even able to summon in tornadoes. With my newfound powers, I flew back to my base and realized this base is going to be a bit too small for me. I was thinking of destroying it when I somehow summoned in a ZEUS villager. Hello, my worshiper. Would you be able to build me a new temple? The villager then went to work tearing down my old base, and after clearing out some trees, the villager started to build a giant temple. After finishing the main part of the structure, the villager finished it off with the roof, and the temple was complete. There was plenty of room for me to walk in, and the villager even moved in all of my stuff. With my base of operations complete, I decided to go back to where the basilisk was to see if I could find the baby dragon. And with my enhanced lightning abilities, I could break through the mountain really easily. After digging straight down for a while, I finally broke through and was greeted by the basilisk fighting the baby dragon. So I ran up to the basilisk and started to fight it. I used my tornadoes to keep it away and used my lightning abilities to push it into the lava. The tornadoes tore a hole through the bedrock, and I watched as the basilisk fell into the void. Instead of running away, the baby dragon seemed fond of me, so I led the baby dragon out of the cave. After flying up through the cave system, we made it back to the surface. I then started heading back to base with my baby dragon, and after traveling for about a day, we made it back home. The baby dragon flew straight into my temple, but I figured it'd be a good idea to build something for it outside. So I summoned in my ZEUS villager and told him to make a small hut for my baby dragon. The ZEUS villager agreed and went behind my temple to start building a small hut for the baby dragon. After about a day of building, the small hut was complete, so I dismissed the villager and showed my baby dragon its new home. After that, I figured it would be a good time to try and train my baby dragon, so I had it follow me into the forest and landed once I spotted some bulls. My baby dragon sprung into action and started taking out the bulls one by one and managed to take them all out. So I decided to take my baby dragon somewhere where it'd be tested. I ended up taking it to the mountain where I had fought the harpies and watched as my baby dragon sprung into action. It was just as easily taking out the harpies, and before I knew it, they were all taken down. My final test for the baby dragon was to find a griffin, which we found in a tree. The baby dragon easily took it out, and it wasn't long after till my baby dragon started evolving. Lightning struck all around it, and it had gotten much larger. I decided to name him Thunderwing. I then took the Thunderwing to a village to test out its powers. Hello, mortal. I'm here to give you a gift. I've come to gift your village to my new pet. You're all to worship the Thunderwing now. Build a temple in his honor. Now.
No way, Zeus. We're done with you. Go away, you tyrant.
Such a bold mortal. Thunderwing, have some fun. Before I knew it, Kronos cultists started pouring out of one of the villager houses, so I had to start helping my Thunderwing fight off the Kronos cultists. We continued taking them out using our abilities, and eventually annihilated them all. One lone cultist came out of the house to surrender.
Please stop. I beg you.
I suppose you've suffered enough for your insolence. I'll forgive you if your village renounces Kronos and builds a temple to myself and the Thunderwing.
Right away, Almighty Zeus.
I'll be back to check on you later. The Thunderwing and I proceeded to look for another village ran by Kronos. It wasn't long till we found one, so we went to confront the villagers. Kneel, mortals, forsake Kronos and resume your worship of the Olympians immediately. Fall in line or die. The Kronos cultists didn't seem too fond of surrendering, so we began battling the Kronos cultists pouring out of the homes. It wasn't long till our Thunderwing and I had defeated them all, and was again left with one cultist. Now, tell me where more worshippers or Kronos is hiding.
West. There's a town to the west.
So with this new information, the Thunderwing and I started heading west to find this other village. And it wasn't long that we heard lightning strikes in the distance. We followed followed the sounds of the lightning strikes and found a massive village on the water. The Thunderwing and I landed at the village and made our way inside. It wasn't long till we were greeted by more Kronos cultists. So using our lightning abilities, we took them all out, but all of a sudden a portal appeared and Kronos had arrived.
Zeus, leave my mortals alone before you do something you regret.
Father, your time was over many years ago. It'll be over again soon.
That's enough. I have preparations to make. Now, destroy my disobedient son.
All of a sudden, something started summoning out of the ground, and out came a time elemental. Kronos then went through the portal, and my Thunderwing pet chased him through the portal. I didn't have any time to react as the time elemental started attacking me. I used my tornadoes to try and push it away, and it started firing projectiles. I was pelting it with my bow over and over, tried striking with lightning, and it TP'd behind me. The time elemental CP'd away and shot a laser beam at me. It did a ton of damage, so I ate some steak to regen and continued using my bow to do more damage. Armor was also close to breaking, but I had the time elemental really low. I kept on using my lightning ability and eventually defeated the time elemental. I looked around for any sign of Kronos, but it seemed like he was completely gone, and decided to return to some previous villages to see if I could get any information. The village I was at previously was completely evacuated, so I decided to return to base. I then summoned a ZEUS villager and gave it the task to get me brewing supplies while I went mining. Mined a bunch of diamonds and lapis, and while I continued mining, my ZEUS villager set up a netherwort farm, brewing station, and melon farm for when I would return. Once I returned back to base, I dismissed the villager and went ahead to start brewing. I brewed myself instant health 2 potions, speed 2 potions, and strength 2 potions. I also crafted full diamond armor, repaired my helmet, and enchanted the rest with protection and unbreaking. Using the ancient debris I got before, I crafted some netherite ingots to turn all the diamond armor into netherite armor, and was well equipped to take on Kronos. When I went outside, I heard some lightning strikes, so I quickly started heading in the direction that I heard them. And after a bunch of travel, I found a city. And in the city square, Kronos appeared as if he expected my arrival.
How did you get back to the present? No matter. If I can't banish you to the future, I can target your precious pet. Let's see if it still remembers you after it's a few thousand years older and 100 times stronger. Now, do everybody a favor and die at the hands of your own pet.
Kronos had disappeared, and my fight between my own pet and I had started. Do you not recognize me? My Thunderwing continued to attack me, and I was forced to fight back. He had all kinds of new abilities, and I was forced to splash down my first potion. After doing a bit more damage and getting it to half HP, the Thunderwing began flying into the air. Where do you think you're going? I started flying after it, and a storm began to form. After chasing it into the clouds, I finally arrived at a massive cloud structure. I spotted the Thunderwing in the middle of the clouds, and approached the Thunderwing to attempt to tame him. I used my bow at long distance. The Thunderwing was doing some large attacks that I was barely dodging. I continued dodging the Thunderwing's attacks by circling around, but got pushed away by a gust of wind. The Thunderwing did a barrel roll trying to attack me, but I dodged it and nearly had it on 1 HP. And after a few more hits, I had defeated the Thunderwing and watched as it plummeted through the cloud. When I landed, I was struck with lightning and evolved into my final form. I now had a full suit of armor and could fly twice as fast. I quickly flew down to the city and saw the Thunderwing on the ground, summoned the ZEUS villager, and ordered him to heal the Thunderwing back to health. After the ZEUS villager had splashed it with instant health potions, I used lightning to try and revive it, and the Thunderwing rose up and was back to life. I had now tamed the full-size Thunderwing and decided it was time to conquer some more villages. It wasn't long until we arrived at our first village, which was one that I had been at before. In the back of the village, there was a house on fire with the Kronos villager outside.
Oh no! Your manic followers just burnt my house down. Just get it over with already.
Really, you'd rather die than just worship me, the god of lightning?
We will never live under your tyranny again. Kronos will stop you and your memory will be lost to time.
I'll have Kronos meet you in the afterlife soon. I then moved on to go to the next village and decided to return to the village in the water. I then realized there was a Kronos temple nearby, so I broke through the wall of the temple and annihilated all the Kronos cultists inside. With still no sign of Kronos, I decided to head back to base with my Thunderwing. And once I returned, I summoned a ZEUS villager. I gave gave the villager the task of building a Hades temple so I could contact the god of the underworld for some advice on how to find Kronos. So for the next few days, the Zeus villager began building the Hades temple. After finishing the base, the Zeus villager added a few more pillars up and topped it off with a red nether brick dome-shaped roof. The Zeus villager flew down with the Hades temple complete, so I dismissed the villager, flew up into the temple, and decided on putting my creation tool inside the chest. Then Hades appeared in a flash of darkness. Hades, I must stop her father. He'll destroy the entire world.
Brother, what do you mean?
He tried to throw me far into the future. Everything was dead, except for you. You helped me get back with the item in the chest. Now I need your help finding him.
Maybe I can help. Maybe you can focus on the relic and use it to find Father.
So with Hades' advice, I took the relic back out of the chest, attempted to use it, and all of a sudden had a vision, which led me past the village in the water and into the ocean where a beam of light shot up into the sky. It seemed to be some kind of portal. All of a sudden, the next part of my vision showed Kronos casting some sort of spell at the top of Olympus. I couldn't tell what he was doing, but I was then snapped back to reality, and Hades wished me farewell. Now with an idea of where Kronos was hiding, I informed my Thunderwing Titan to stay behind just in case Kronos was able to control him, restocked on potions and food, and was ready to confront Kronos. After flying for a while, I finally made it to the village in the water and flew past it into the ocean. I continued flying in the ocean until I found the beam of light, and I looked up and saw it went all the way into the sky. I continued flying up into the beam of light, and I started to accelerate faster and faster and was transported to the top of Olympus. I then flew up quickly to the top of Olympus to try and find Kronos, but Kronos wasn't there. Instead, there was an orb of stars surrounded by strange particles. I had a bad feeling about it, but I decided to go into the orb and was transported into a strange dimension. This seemed to be Kronos' lair. Where are we, Kronos? What do you have planned?
You're too late, Zeus. Interfering with my plans will only delay the creation of a paradise. It will be all your fault, Zeus.
Your time on Olympus is up, Kronos. I will take my throne.
I am the god of time, ruler of the Titans. I will not fall to you again.
Kronos was doing a ton of damage, forcing me to use healing, and was teleporting around, making it hard for me to track him. He was summoning in buff villagers and Kronos cultists to attack me, but I had him on about half HP. I was then knocked into the air and took a ton of fall damage. Kronos was also preventing me from using my flight abilities, but I was doing a ton of damage to Kronos and had him on a sliver of HP. You will fall, Kronos.
What did you do?
After defeating Kronos, his minions disappeared, and an item was left in his place. It was the creation tool, which had sealed Kronos away. I then left the dimension through the portal, which teleported me back to my temple. I went inside and put the creation item on display, where the Titan of Time would remain sealed. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I hope you all have a great day. Once again, thanks to Monster Legends for sponsoring today's video, and don't forget to download the game now to collect limited Walking Dead monsters, and of course to collect the limited time free starter pack by using the link in the description below.